Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourselves in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. This evening's scene is going to take place in the Hermetic Chantry, located just outside the boundaries of the grounds of Trinity College at the centre of the city. My apologies. Sorry, there's something caught in my throat. One second. I'm okay? Yes. Rupert Gallo has received a very polite invitation to take tea at the Hermetic Chantry at approximately lunchtime on the 29th of this month. The 29th of Tuesday the 29th at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to assume he will be prompt.
Yes.
Very good. The building that sits before you is a large. You'd assume at one point it was one of the fraternity or larger domicile buildings for the college itself. However, it has since been turned into private apartments, or so the outside of the building reads. As you approach the large black mahogany door and wrap your fingers upon it, the door is opened by a small, well-rounded man, and you'd guess his early to late 30s. He will bob his head rather appreciatively and say, yes, you must be Mr. Gallo, yes?
Indeed, sir.
Oh, it's lovely to meet you. My name is Perkins. I'm the general dog's body.
A pleasure, sir.
May I take your coat, sir?
Of course. Mr. Gallo will hand over his outer jacket. He's actually wearing his work clothes. He's come from court this morning.
Okay. He will take the coat, he will hang it up, and he will say, would you care to follow me, sir? The magisters are taking tea on the veranda.
Oh, very good.
He will lead you through the length of the building, through the kitchen and out into a small walled garden, where there is indeed a high walled garden, where there is indeed a high veranda-style decking that has been set up for those to enjoy the sun. You will see a man who appears to be in his, you guess, his early 40s, sitting behind a table. He has a china teacup in hand, long black hair, and his features appear, though quite pale, to be of Eastern Mediterranean descent. If you had to guess, maybe somewhere in the Arab belt, maybe Libya or northern Egypt. But he is incredibly pale. He has a ring on his index finger of his left hand, which just has the symbol of the Quasitore on it. He appears very, very calm. He appears tranquilly calm, in fact. And he will say, as he stands up, "Good afternoon, Mr. Gallo."
Good afternoon, Magister. A pleasure, as always.
If you'd like to describe your gentleman,
Anthony. Sitting opposite the quaestor is a quite fat man, like not hugely obese, but visibly portly. He looks to be in maybe his mid to late 60s. Perhaps he'd be generous and say maybe late 50s. He's being generous. In a rich red velvet waistcoat, velveteen jacket. He looks kind of like Santa, with a massive white beard, longish white hair. Sitting there with a very small cup of tea. Though as he drinks it, you'll notice the tea, whenever it's brought to his lips, turns to red wine. As he puts it down, it's refilling.
Allow me to do. Oh, sorry, continue.
And he will simply smile at you and salute you with the cup of tea.
Allow me to do formal introductions. This is Magister Croshaw. We're currently in the chantry under his care. He will stop for you to give formal introductions.
My thank you for your hospitality, Magister. I am Rupert Gallo of the House of Flambeau of the Order of Hermes. Salve Sodalis.
and I am, I suppose I should use the full term and title. I am Magister Mundi Ibn Thoth, Primus of House Quisitor. A pleasure to make your acquaintance formally, Mr. Gallo. Would you care to sit down?
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Would you care? He will hold up the teapot. Would you care for tea?
Oh, please, yes.
He will very gently pour the tea into the pot.
Mm.
He will then offer the tray of biscuits.
Mm. Mr. Gow will gladly accept. He hasn't actually had lunch yet, so we'll be quite happy to have a good biscuit.
I will note that we call them biscuits here, unlike our uncivilized American cousins who call them cookies. Shakes fist, damn colonians.
I think if they're like homemade in your oven, I might call them cookies. But if they're bought in a shop, they're definitely biscuits.
He will lift his teacup and he will take a sip. I am led to understand from my reading of the records here kept that you are considered to be an expert as it pertains to Hermetic law and jurisprudence.
I am well read on the matter and I've had some small experience with legal cases. I have.
I see. He will hold out his hand, and there's a momentary kind of swirling of the air around you as into his hand will appear a file dossier. I would be interested in you taking a case that is about to be heard.
I could certainly fit a case into my schedule, and I certainly relish the opportunity to work with Hermetic law rather than mundane law.
Yes, I see. He will look down at his watch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At which point, Rory, you can knock on the door.
Knock? He doesn't knock. Are you in the garden?
They are, in fact, in the garden, but the garden is walled in and can only really be reached from the walking through the chantry proper out to the back garden.
Or from jumping from the story above?
If you wish to.
You deserve everything that goes wrong with it.
If you wish to.
He'll just walk in. Cornelius behind him.
Allow me to. Oh, there you are. Is it apprentice or no? It's adept.
It's adept right now. Adeptus.
There you are, adept. It is a pleasure to see you again, and I'm sorry that we have to meet under such unfortunate circumstances.
Oh,
entirely,
that's okay.
entirely deadpan, like just vroom.
That's okay.
Do you know why I've asked you to come here?
You asked me to come here?
Well, I knew you would be here, so I consider this by proxy, in a manner of speaking.
Oh, well. Serendipity, then.
He will look down at his records, and he will say, I see. Would you please bear with me one moment? He takes out a pair of half-moon spectacles, and he puts them on. Because they are the Dumbledores of spectacles. That is
Why
my
have you stolen my glasses?
He will look down at his notes and he will say, will you please inform me if the following names mean anything to you, Adept, please? Thank you. Do you know, are you familiar and acquainted with a... My apologies, one moment. Are you familiar and acquainted with a Mr. Tristan O'Hare?
Sketch, yeah.
Are you familiar with an Eric Peelson, MD?
Yeah, I helped him escape from technocrats in the hospital. He was recently awakened. Or he just awakened then.
Are you familiar with a Zachary Belmont, father to the Roman Catholic Church?
Guessing that's the priest.
Are you familiar with a... He kind of... you can actually see him. He squints. He's just like, is that a name? He's like, are you familiar with the resplendent sound of jewels? Where do these people... Never mind.
She grew up on a monastery in Japan. She's the Thanatos Chakravanti, I think they call themselves now.
I see. But you are familiar with her nonetheless.
Yeah. She was on the Siren Rescue mission, too.
And are you familiar with an Imari Ortega?
Who now?
Imari Ortega.
Maybe. It doesn't sound familiar, but say which tradition?
The Cult of Ecstasy.
It's probably Lottie. I'm guessing.
I'm sorry to say, but all of these individuals have made allegations against you for the committing of various different high and savage crimes against the 9 mystical traditions.
All right.
As well as Magister Croshaw has voiced his concern as to possible breaches of the oath of the Order of Hermes that you may have committed.
Uh-huh.
That you will hear a distinct clinking, clinking, clink, clinking, clink, as fingernails that have strangely elongated into vicious-looking points are tinkling along the cup edge.
He will raise a hand and he will say, "There's no need for that. We are civilized."
Civilized people maintain their oaths, Primus. I'm sure you remember that.
Yes, I do. He will look at Rory and he will say, this is not a formal tribunal. There will be a formal tribunal. However, I am unfortunately grieved to say you are charged with a total of 23 high crimes. This is a very serious matter.
Okay.
Do you have in mind anyone whom you would wish to represent you in this matter? You are entitled to counsel.
I mean, he thinks he looks all of 19. Doesn't really seem to get what's going on.
Sir, might I inquire if you've had much experience with Hermetic law yourself?
Oh, where are my manners? Allow me to introduce Adept Gallo.
Pleasure to meet you.
A pleasure. I'm sad it is not under happier circumstance.
Yeah, it's happy enough.
So, the mundanes have a expression which I think applies here. The council the defendant that represents himself has a fool for a client.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you have not had a great deal of experience with Hermetic law, I would urge you to seek proper due counsel. It does not prevent you from speaking in your own defense as well, but you should do so well advised.
Well, I'm just wondering if it would just delay the inevitable.
Do you acknowledge your guilt on 23 high crimes?
I don't know what they are.
I can list them if you'd like.
Sure.
He will open his little file dossier. He will scan down the page.
Take a. Okay. Go ahead.
He will say. He will clear his throat. He will say. Oh, sorry, Ivan has to just do a quick piece of mental arithmetic to get his math right. One moment. You are charged with 15 counts of reckless endangerment as it pertains to the sleeper population, and additional 6 charges of reckless endangerment and grievous bodily harm to the awakened population, and 2 counts of betrayal of your oath to the Order of Hermes.
Which part of the oath?
That will be presented to you at trial, or rather, in our evidentiary briefing before the trial. As currently,
Don't I have right to hear the charges?
This is presently only an informal discussion.
Okay.
Right. Unless you would rather me act in a formal manner.
Then you would have
If we're having an
everyone
informal discussion, and this without prejudice, tries to think back to like the TV shows he saw on the law.
I will also point out once again we enter the course of Sam knows much more out of character law than Evan does, so absolutely none of that is applicable. I will make this up as I go along.
Yeah. I actually am a lawyer in real life.
Yes, but this is hermetic law.
Anthony knows nothing about real world law, but he knows quite a bit about the hermetic laws.
So can we speak without prejudice about consequences?
He will look to Croshaw and he will shrug.
We can certainly speak without prejudice, but as to without consequences?
No, as to consequences.
Oh, as to consequences, then yes, of course, without prejudice.
So
you wish to speak to the possible outcomes of the trial.
Well, I'm guessing it's death.
It depends.
There are always defenses.
There are always mitigating circumstances.
I mean, sure, but why waste everyone's time? How about I just plead, without prejudice? How about I just plead guilty and just expel me from the order? It's pretty clear. I mean,
that's not how it works, I'm afraid.
We will not expel you from the order. Unfortunately, these crimes are too severe to merit that as a punishment, should you be found guilty.
That being said, of course, there is always the advantage that if you took this to a tribunal, you could give your side of the story in detail. If the tribunal felt that in each case, your actions left you no choice but to break the high crime, but to commit high crimes, and even to break your oath, then in those circumstances, it might be felt that while you have committed the crimes, you are not guilty of an offense. That is why we always advise better to go before tribunal than to throw oneself under the metaphorical bus.
It is far better for everyone that a proper inquest is conducted. It may be that some guilt falls upon other parties that is uncovered by the tribunal It may be that some of these are simply lesser crimes or represent poor but excusable judgment, which can be taken into account.
Yeah.
A crime with good intent is still a crime, but it may carry a lesser sentence.
There must also be, due to your unique situation, the concept that it is not you, more so the innate nature of your avatar that is at fault.
In which
It's
case,
still me.
Then additional allowances may be entered into your records. Such that if
We would like. Oh, sorry. Continue, Anthony.
such that if offences like this were to happen again, then it would be noted that due to your avatar's nature, these things might be more expected. You'd be more closely watched, naturally, but less likely to face another tribunal.
Yeah.
We do not wish to sentence an innocent man. However, should you plead guilt, we will assume your guilt.
Rory looks extremely skeptical with the last few statements. It's like not hostile, but it's just like.
You can almost hear that song you wrote playing in your head.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He has a. I mean, I don't know if you just. What are the consequences I'm looking at?
If you're found guilty of all crimes and sundry, or only specific crimes.
If we're having without prejudice things of the ones I'm likely to be found guilty of.
At that point, we would need to answer the question as to your culpability versus your avatar's culpability.
I don't understand.
Certain presences that are innately considered magical are more chaotic, disruptive, and can cause us to do things unduly in a way that is disruptive, in a way that is not just chaotic, but dangerously unstable. Those influences are oftentimes not the fault of the individual in question, more so the fault of the inner spark itself being in one manner or another disruptive. If you were to be found guilty of all of the crimes, especially the wanton and especially the physical assaults or the gross negligence as it pertains to your fellow awakened beings, then we would examine this. As for the others, by far the most serious crimes listed upon the above are the 2 counts of betrayal against your order and against the oath you swore upon joining such. You remember the clauses in the oaths for if they were broken.
Okay. What are the clauses I'm alleged to have broken?
He will sigh and he will open his files again.
To get a bit of context, what was the discussion about Rory's avatar that he could have been responsible? That the avatar could have been responsible?
Basically, they said that if you were found guilty of a whole slew of crimes, they would have to look at how responsible versus how responsible the avatar was.
Okay.
It could be the avatar that was. It could be the avatar that was demented or that was insane and could have driven him to do actions against it out of his line of control, and that would be investigated if he was found guilty. They're thorough like that.
Then I have a question for Rory. Has any of his actions been driven? Like, this is more for my sakes than for the other PCs and the other NPCs in here. Does Rory feel like the actions he has done is because of his avatar? Like, did he do those things because of his avatar or of his own volition?
No, very much of his own volition.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
no,
that case-
I'm not saying that is a thing. I'm saying that they would examine it if it became necessary for it to be examined.
Okay, so then I would say, Rory, you would feel a weird sense of almost.
I can tell you he feels a sense of like skepticism and resentment.
Well, no, this is coming from your magic. With the talks of the idea of when you distinctively noticed that when they were talking about the blame being put on the avatar, there was almost this sense of.
Oh yeah, he has no.
You get this feeling of what do you call it? Sternness, as if the eyes of Elrond are kind of keeping an eye on you.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with my avatar.
That is your own opinion. It is something we will ascertain. Should it become necessary.
I can have my own council.
You may nominate a council. They may refuse, should they wish to. And may I answer your question as it was posed?
Please.
You broke. Well, it is currently being debated if a third trial or a third charge of breaking of the oath and betrayal needs to be issued. However, currently it is stipulated that through your actions you betrayed the group of magi whom it was that you were interacting with at the time as it pertained to the destruction of, and he flicks through his notes, certain technocratic devices for your own selfish bloodlust. Interestingly, it was a priest who wrote the phrase selfish bloodlust.
Of course.
And also that you through your actions as it pertains other instances, through your own actions you placed the order itself in jeopardy through the attempts to cause internal strife and division.
What?
You asked for the charges. I have given you.
Can you, sorry, out of character, can you repeat that last part?
Yes, that you placed the order in that through your actions you placed the order in jeopardy through attempting to cause internal strife and divisions.
What internal strife and divisions?
I am led to understand you were openly referring to members of the Order of Hermes as murderers, attempting to solicit the apprentices to believe some fabrication.
That's what this is actually about. Okay. Sure, let's do a tribunal.
It is also about the immense amount of charges of reckless endangerment and brutal physical harm, unless you do not value the complaints there issued.
Rory's eyes just kind of gleam for a minute. I mean, how much do I value something said by someone who made a deal with the fallen? Not very.
If you're trying to elicit a response from him, it's not forthcoming. You can you get the impression you may want to elaborate on that for him to actually give a solidarity fuck.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, he deals with House Titalis. Do you know what they've done? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
But he kind of looks at you in a way like, do you wish to elaborate that statement?
I mean, you know what?
Are you accusing the resplendent sound of Jules, Eric Peelson, MD? He just starts listing the names. Are you accusing these individuals collectively of infernalism?
Not all of them. And you know what? I'm not going to drag them down for this.
At that point, if you have reason to believe some of them are engaged in this activity, you should bring that to our attention so that it can be properly dealt with.
Especially since the tribunal would have to consider whether the fact that if some of your accusers are guilty of infernalism, we have to consider whether the charges overall have been manipulated by dark forces, and indeed whether or not your service to the clan in service to the
Order.
In revealing. Yeah, I'm currently building a Palpar character as well. Whether your service to the order was sufficient to merit the overlooking the charges. I think nowadays they think of it as release on good behavior, I think is the modern phrase. But without having to actually be confined.
I'll face it.
Certainly, if there were charges brought that were proven that they were infernalists, that would put certain matters here in a different light. For example, injuring an infernalist would hardly be considered quite a crime in the same way.
Most correct. Do you wish to lay accusation?
I'll face the squad alone.
Then there will be no more mention of supposed infernalism.
I can always change my mind later, can't I?
Well, no. I suppose it can be entered, but you are openly stating to me now that you do not wish to level an accusation of infernalism. Later it may be considered pandering to your case.
I might also add, should you have such information of a known infernalist and be withholding it, that in itself could be considered aiding and abetting infernalism.
Correct.
Can I just speak very bluntly here, because I'm not subtle and smart like you folks.
You asked if you could speak. We already said yes.
Like, I don't... You can understand why, from my perspective, of course, only, I don't really have the highest impression of Hermetic justice.
I don't understand this. We have been nothing but fair with you.
Okay, well, then forget I said anything.
I think I know what you're referring to. If I may,
Majesty, what is he referring to? Please elaborate.
You recall the historical records regarding House Dietny?
Yes, they were eliminated for infernalism in the 12th century by House Titalis and House Flambeau.
Precisely. And in recent months, evidence has been unearthed by some that has apparently, much like Gnostic Gospels in the old days, have brought certain doubts regarding the veracity of the accusations made against House Dietny. I wouldn't be surprised if our friend here is operating under the assumption that we, what's the modern terminology, placed House Dietny through a kangaroo court, and is now afraid he's going to suffer the same harsh justice.
House Dietny is the reason that I am here. I have many tasks that take my time. However, I am here in order to preside over the tribunal that we are currently gathering evidence on as to the situation, the rediscovery of the Diadne Chantry, arcane possessions therein, and the name and nature of a continued craft to call itself Diadne. That is why I am here. However, that is immaterial as of now, as there has not been a judgment or a verdict reached upon it. So as of this moment in time, House Diadne are still infernalists. The histories have not changed. The law is absolute.
And the Wizard's March is still in effect.
And a what?
The Wizard's March that was pronounced is still in effect.
Correct.
The hunt for
At the point of law, formally a wizard's march is declared by one wizard on one other wizard. Now, there were historical cases when every member of one chantry would march every member of another chantry, or, as happened, every member of certain houses declared a march on every single other member of House Diadne. However, presumably all the wizards involved are no longer with us. So
this is indeed correct.
Therefore, a wizard's march on two people who were not even born at the time would not be in effect.
This is indeed the case. Your law is apt.
But the ruling that is, it's whatever. I don't know. Okay. I mean, there was another piece. Every other instance of hermetic justice I've seen has, I wouldn't really call it that, but.
However, since every member of House Diadne was renounced, they would not be considered members of good standing, so they could not administer their oaths to a future apprentice. Thus, anyone calling themselves a Diadne, trained by the Diadne, would not be a member of the order and not protected by the oath.
Indeed, this is what I am here to ascertain, and this is what we are here to hear arguments on. My presence has been requested here by a senior member of the Celestial Chorus in order to hear out the case. That is why I am here, because if I make a ruling on this, and he says this with no amount of levity and no amount of this could be questioned, the order will listen to the ruling if I make it. That is why I am here. The fact that I'm here in order to oversee these lesser charges against Adept Rory is merely the fortune of happenstance, or rather the infortune of happenstance. However, I am a member of House Quaesitor. I am the leader of House Quaesitor. I will see that this trial is conducted in a legal and fair manner, and I will not have anyone judge or render any of my own judgments unsound. So, do you...
What does that mean?
He kind of blinks. What do you need me to explain?
You won't have anyone else judge any of your judgments unsound?
As in, if you are to be tried, you will be tried fairly, and I will not have any accuse me otherwise. Yeah. I will not allow something as... I will not allow something as backwards as a kangaroo court.
What about what happened here 50 years ago?
I beg your pardon? He will stand up and he will kind of brush down his coat and he will say, do you know whom it is you wish to name as your counsel in this matter? Sorry, I couldn't remember the word counsel for 5 seconds.
I'm thinking of my mother.
Your mother has no standing in our courts.
Perhaps your parents could assist you.
I think they're dead.
Did they have other apprentices? Someone else in your lineage, perhaps?
I will also say that it is my intention that this will be tried properly in a tribunal of 3 judges. I will sit as one. Magister Croshaw, as the seated magister, will sit as another, and I intend the 3rd to be a member of House Maronita of Ex Miscellanea.
Okay.
Mr. Gallo here will be prosecuting you.
Okay.
I can assure you, sir, that there is no ill will between us. I simply intend to fulfill my function to the best of my ability and fairly. I urge you to get good counsel.
Okay, I'll think about it.
It would not be appropriate for me to give you particular advice beyond that, I feel. But I can also assure you that I will be happy to defend any finer points of law should I feel the trial is unjust.
This is another one of the reasons I opted that you, Adept Gallo, would prosecute, because you are a man who he contemplates has, for a member of House Flambeau, a very ardent need for justice. It is something I can respect.
Well, okay.
Actually, out of curiosity, because I don't have the name. Sam, you know, I think he has a really funny name.
Jeffrey Twidmarch, the professor.
He's the one from Cambridge, yes.
Yes, he's the last of the Inklings. He's from Oxford, actually.
Oxford, my apologies. I'm sorry, I just love the word. I just know the name Twidmarch.
One of my favorite things. Yeah, I love Twidmarch.
He is a magister, isn't he?
I don't know that he's a magister. He has a lot of ties and pull to other supernaturals in throughout the UK and Ireland.
That's fine. We're going to assume he's Arete 5 to make him a magister, because we can. He will say, Magister Twidmarch will serve as our additional judge. I have written him a letter. I'm led to understand that he will be arriving in a few days' time.
Oh, it's nice to see him again, one way or another. Tells the best stories.
Do you have anything else you wish to raise with us, Ada?
Well, I don't want to be accused of aiding and abetting or whatever you said, but I don't want to be a snitch either, and I don't think they were intending to be infernalists. I don't think they actually are. I just think they...
I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but I would urge you to bring it to appropriate attention and explain the matter so that a judgment can be rendered.
He will raise a finger and he will say, a judgment may be rendered provided they are under the auspices of our judgment to give. If they are not members of the Order of Hermes, in that case it becomes more complicated, but yes.
The case can be referred to another appropriate power to judge them.
Yes.
There's a demon named Faust. Or Faustus.
The eye will act. The first emotion, his eye will twitch.
Rory describes him. He's kind of handsome in a sick way, very thin, pale, eats a lot without enjoyment, dark clothes. You know, he's got a kind of fine features. They weren't selling their souls or anything. So
this is the same Faust who was, shall we say, House Titalis is more than well aware of his existence. Yes, that is a paraphrasing. But if he is indeed, he will raise a hand and he will look at Magister Proshaw and he will say, if this entity is indeed active within the city, then I would urge you to warn all of the apprentices and make sure that you have appropriate protections.
He's more than active. He maintains a place here, I think.
I reiterate my above statement.
I don't understand some of the big words you're using.
So you're alleging this Faust is in fact an infernal creature or an infernal list?
No, he's a demon. Like a fallen angel.
Okay, and you know where he lives?
Not right now, but there are people here who, not here. Some of the people made a deal with him. I was trying to tell them not to. It's stupid. I refuse to.
What deal was made?
Rory just kind of looks like uncomfortable, like a kid in the principal's office. Doesn't want a rat. Well, there was the Templehoff girl, and they wanted to redeem her, and they wanted to bring God's attention. So there's
you were speaking on the matter of the Winterschlossste.
yes.
That's a really hard word to say out of character.
Seriously.
He will say, I am well aware of Father Zachariah Belmont's supposed activities as it pertains to the fallen in this matter, and I also know that the highest religious authority in the city in the form of Archbishop de Calvornay has spoken to his defense on this issue.
Yeah.
I consider this matter to be in his hands, not mine, as he is a member of his organization as opposed to my own.
Someone else also made a deal.
Now that raises his attention.
To name their, to allow Faust to give the name to the child, the firstborn.
No. His hand immediately snaps up, and he says, very, very, very sternly, did she stipulate what name he could give the child?
I don't recall out of character, honestly.
Out of character, no. She said that Faust could name her first child. She never stipulated the name.
Yeah. Okay.
Which means, from a hermetic perspective, finger guns, he can give the child its true name.
Yeah. No, she didn't say which name. She just agreed to let him give her firstborn any name that Faust wanted.
I think it's safe to say that you'll see Croshaw and the Primus and Mr. Gallo all look at each other. It's like
there will be a moment of face palm. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, listen. Do you want me to think? I don't actually care. I don't actually want to bring charges against them. But you know what? Fuck this. I think charges are bullshit.
No, sir,
okay?
sir. The charges are not for you to bring in that matter. If you've been withholding evidence, that's a crime. If they've been conducting deals with the Infernal, that is a most serious high crime. And whether they're in that order or not, they will be dealt with.
Yeah, there's also probably a demon running around in the skin of Hermetic, by the way.
What?
Did you not think to bring this to our attention as soon as you found out?
Well, I was unconscious and on the edge of death until about an hour ago.
Well, that's a good answer. It's a shame no one else did. Please go on.
Yeah, so
who is this
Master
alleged?
Siren, who is like a super cool guy. The guy who runs the library. He got kidnapped by like demon things from the forbidden section, and a bunch of us went in to help him. And the old guy who didn't age that much, died, and the Hermetic, who was new here, and he and then someone was offered a deal. Like, did they want the that famous sword, or did they want the our boy resurrected. He chose the sword, so which I told them not to, but whatever. Again, they don't listen. So now there's a thing wearing his skin, and that was confirmed by one of the other guys later.
So he's possessed. Or
Well,
impersonated, or
He's being puppeted, I believe would be the correct phrase. He is dead, but it's essentially
Yeah.
walking around in his body as opposed to being possessed.
not a word.
That's
People
the one.
possessed the dead. That's
Yeah.
deeply on many
That's
levels. So, in summary, you are alleging that this city is a den of infernalism.
No, I don't think that's. They're not deliberately trying to sell their soul. I'm saying I know, and I'm pretty open about not being the brightest guy, but I think this city lacks a fuck ton of common sense, and you know, particularly amongst the people smarter than me. And yeah, they don't really. You never make a deal with the devil.
Adept. Your name is Rory, correct?
Yeah.
Right. I'll make you a deal, and I think the Primus will agree with me on this. If you are able to lead us to the capture of these infernal forces, then we may have to, then it may be within the best interests of the order, especially with regards to this good deed, to disregard the bulk of the charges against you, especially those of the more severe kind.
Thoth will appear to be very thoughtful, as he leans back in his chair, his fingers pentive, and he will say, under normal circumstances, I would agree, Magister Crocial. However, the other members of the traditions have made it clear that they wish to see justice done in this matter. This has become complicated because it is not simply us dealing with the matter in-house. It is us being scrutinized by the other organizations that make up the traditions, because they are the ones alleging that their individual ascended or awakened magi were the ones placed in the firing line.
You mean the ones who were about to sell me down the river and leave me for dead earlier?
I was just
Once again, can you? Sorry, he raises his hand for silence because he's actually getting actively annoyed. If you have evidence to bring forward, make the statements. Do not leave them as cutting and clipping remarks to be issued like a child.
Okay, there was a Nazi werewolf assassin who, hired by the Nazi.
I choose to put it out of character. He wasn't a Nazi, but okay, he had a really weird uniform.
He had swastika stuff on. Okay, you wear swastika and like SS gear, you're a Nazi. I don't really care for the details.
That outfit 100% does not have a swastika outfit, but continue.
I thought it did. Well, there was a creepy, evil werewolf assassin thing that was hired by the technocratic director, the Nazi one, to kill me. And, you know, not only the other guys, for the most part, not have my back, several of them were actively contemplating just giving me two of them. And one of them made friends with him. After.
Well, it sounds like you do have much to present at the tribunal.
No, you know what? It's honestly, I don't want to be a little bitch like them. Okay. Why am I going to call them out on their shit? They're not going to change. They are who they are. Like,
they're entitled to be who they are, but they can also be judged if they are committing crimes, like consorting with devils.
I choose to point out, technically speaking, a child of the moon is not a devil, but yes.
No, but devils have been mentioned enough.
Yes, they have been.
Like,
and if they were have made moves on your life, again, you have good things to present to tribunal. I suggest you do so formally and properly.
Okay.
I
This
assume,
is
I assume the accused will have access to an appropriate library should he wish to consult case law himself.
Correct. Yes.
what kind of lawyer can I get?
Whoever is willing to represent you.
Any make is in good standing.
As long as they are once again willing to represent you.
Do they have to be in the order of Hermes?
It is not necessarily an absolute requirement. This is vastly recommended.
Do they have to be a Magi?
Yes, or else they would breach several of the universal tenets unless they were already aware of the existence of awakened kind.
I mean,
They've been aware for several millennia.
Who is this individual?
My mom?
Once again, your mother cannot stand. It would directly breach the oath, unless you wish me to have to level another accusation against you.
What is your mother?
He will turn his dossier file and he'll point at the word. It says changeling / fey being on his dossier. He will then show Mr. Gallo because he doesn't know about Mr. Gallo's prejudice.
Mr. Gallo will look annoyed and uncomfortable for a long moment. I hardly think such an individual would be, what would be the term? Focused and stable enough to take part in the tribunal. And they would lack the in-depth knowledge of our legal system. Such beings are notorious for ignoring any form of justice law in this world.
Yeah, we're really good at it ourselves.
That is enough, Adept. I have borne your barbs through the entirety of this conversation while we have tried to remain civil and with an air of civility about us. Now, you find yourself in a serious situation, arguably should it be proven of your own making. If you are guiltless in these crimes, I will apologize, and the court will make sure that there are no repercussions on you personally. However, should you be found guilty, then we will be forced to act in accordance with a legal system that has stood since the time of Augustus in Rome. So, he will lean back in his chair. I am loath to take away your liberties of the city, as it pertains your ability to move around freely, etc., etc., etc. However, he will raise a finger. Until such time as you are actively found innocent, I would ask of you to make an agreement with me that you will not use your powers gifted to you in any fashion whatever.
Like whatever.
Whatever.
But if I agree to be locked up here, I can use them?
No, they will still be taken from you until such time as you are found innocent.
But
And after that, we will be determining what is the best course of action as it pertains them.
you will be safer, however.
Why don't you just get a sword now? Okay.
He will reach into the folds of his robe, and a sword will be drawn. He will throw it at your feet. He will say, if you wish to take your own life, you are entitled to do so. There is no legal precedent that you should not. However, I consider it personally the coward's way out.
And I would also remind you, sir, the consequences of suicide. It may be lawful in hermetic justice, but it may have implications for the fate of your immortal soul.
Okay. Yeah.
It sounds to me like you have at least some material to present at tribunal. You have time to prepare. You have access to a library of case law to prepare with. You may have, I'm sure, have friends to discuss your lines of and points with and prepare your case.
How am I going to discuss with them if I can't use magic and I can't leave?
We never said you couldn't leave.
You could write a letter, I assume.
We once again never stated you were confined to this space. We are saying that you will have your magic temporarily locked, or you will agree not to use it, rather, so that you will be able to still have liberty of the city. And
Why can't I use magic? I haven't been found guilty. If I do something bad, you're going to kill me anyways. So, what's the problem?
Sir, I believe it is a polite request to avoid the need to either take you to custody, or the Good Art Makers could simply declare a private wizard's war to settle the matter if you don't wish to be amicable.
What? Wait, that's an option?
Yes.
Any Magus in good standing has the right to declare wizard's war.
So
that's a separate legal procedure, but
I could make them declare wizard's war against me?
You would declare war against them.
Do you wish me to summarize for you how wizard's war works?
I'd rather die on my feet than on my knees.
Very well. A Magus in good standing may declare a wizard's war upon another Magus. This may be done on the night of a full moon. The wizard's war shall commence at the next full moon, and it shall run until the following full moon. During this time, such Magi are considered outside the protection of the code and may fight, combat, and slay each other lawfully. The victor is entitled to claim the loser's property and possessions as spoils. I think that would be a short and concise summary. There are some other implications for sanctum law and so forth, and the laws regarding bystanders and allies, but that will, I hope, suffice for now. I would not recommend you go down that route.
But
why?
But you should be made aware of the fact that in the event that your accusers are all dead, then when it comes to tribunal, there would be no guaranteed evidence to convict.
There would still be the evidence as it pertains at least one of the acts of betrayal.
But that would generally only merit expulsion rather than death.
I do not recommend that killing off all your accusers is a sensible way to do legal business.
Not only that, he will raise a hand and he will say, not only that, but a wizard's war is primarily a tool for those within the Order of Hermes. I cannot guarantee that other traditions would respect such.
Okay. Fine. This seems already to be determined. Whatever you want.
We're not saying you can't do this.
No matter what I do. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. I appreciate you built your life. You spent your life building this, and I don't mean to cast down.
You are forgiven, Adept.
Thanks.
He's gone back to his very, very calm demeanor, and he will say, there is also one other possibility.
Exactly.
He will look down at his notes, and he will say, the only act that is not to be proven by evidence of non-Order of Hermes members, etc., is a single count of betrayal. Should you get the individuals who possess the ability to drop the charges or declare the charges null and void, then the charges would no longer be prosecuted.
I was going to ask them for forgiveness anyways.
If they wish to declare that you are forgiven and write me an official letter saying they rescind these charges, then I will accept that, and the charges will be stricken from the record.
Yeah.
As it pertains the sleepers, he will say, flicking through his notes, as it pertains the sleepers, if you were to do a sizable good deed for each one in question, as from what my own notes indicate, there was only the act of recklessness that could have dealt them harm. It ended up not dealing them harm, so you were saved by the luck of Fortuna. If you were to do a sizable good deed for each one of them in sundry, then I would be more than happy to consider that matter also dealt with, and they would be struck from the list.
Yeah, no, I was saying I was going to ask them for forgiveness anyways, but they don't have the stones to talk to me personally.
That is irrelevant.
Yeah, no,
Oh, perhaps you could deal with the matter by letter.
Is there a trial by ordeal or combat?
We're not savages.
He could request certimen. Yes, it can be done.
Think about it. All right, well, haven't finished entirely regrowing my hand, and I.
Oh, you have. Siren, regrow your hand. Back being all handy.
Well, I have one, so I have my hand, but not my other arm.
Correct.
All right, well, this has been a slice.
I must require your word before you leave, Adept, that you will not use your powers.
I don't understand still why I can't use my powers.
Because you may attempt to flee justice. It is standard procedure in this matter.
Why don't I just promise not to flee justice then?
He'll kind of look to the other two as in, is that good enough for you?
Have I ever done anything that was the slightest bit cowardly? Am I not always the first in the fray?
If he gives his word, he will return. In order to face justice, I will accept that. I will addendamize, however. You will not use your powers to influence, to influence directly or indirectly the outcome as it pertains this tribunal. You will not use force to threaten. You will not use mind to coerce. You will not use any of the powers granted to you by the Invictae within you, the avatar that grants you power, in order to influence the decisions of those without.
Yeah, okay.
And you swear to return for the trial.
I'm probably not going to leave the city anyways. Where would I go?
That is not an answer, Adept.
Yes, I swear.
Okay, boom. You are bound by Gios, rank 5 entropy.
Yeah.
To both of the above. He will lean back in his chair and sip his tea. Mr. Perkins does make excellent tea.
Who's Mr. Perkins?
He's the general dog's body of the Chantry.
Oh.
Have you attended a tribunal before, Magus?
Yeah.
Ah, good. So you have some idea of the procedure then. Excellent.
Well, not really.
Okay. Do you have any pointed questions that I might be able to clarify in a general sense?
Not really.
Okay. Well,
The last, the one I saw a few months ago was the trial of Prometheus.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that particular case.
They guilted him for giving nuclear power to the sleepers.
Yes, well, more so. He was sentenced to Gilgal due to irreparably altering the face of human war, the face of human endeavors, and was deemed personally responsible for the American splitting of the atom and the assault in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
That was a complicated piece of law. No one was. He will look up at Rory and he will say, "The thing that a judge dreams about is a trial that is simple and clean, not something that leaves a bloody wound."
Oh, these won't. Yeah.
Right.
I hope you get what you want.
Well, we all hope that justice is served, wherever that may lead, and upon whoever that may lead to.
I think we all have a different idea of justice.
I would, since you have had limited experience, clarify for you that the line in the code relating to scrying is still in effect at a tribunal. Hence, therefore, there is no legal obligation on you to give evidence under a lie detection spell for enchantment. However, you may volunteer to do so, just as witnesses may volunteer to accept a lie detection enchantment when given evidence. If you were to not volunteer and your accusers were to volunteer, naturally that would affect the balance of weight of such evidence.
Yeah.
But that is a decision you should reflect on and consider carefully.
You just want to muck around in my mind right now.
I spoke only of a lie detection and nothing deeper.
Would it save time? Why cut out the middle? Why not cut out the middleman?
Because we will not break our oath.
What's your oath?
Your oath is the same as my oath.
So I'll invite you in.
It is irrelevant only if you issue the invite. I still could not do so in good conscience. Sorry.
Okay.
Remember the line of the oath. I shall not spy by any means or manners. It is rather clear.
Rory just kind of starts to say something, just kind of looks at the Archmage. Really? Because I'm not even sure of a single person who's innocent. Anyways, whatever. Okay.
There's a sigh, and he will say, "Good afternoon, Adept Rory."
Good afternoon, Archmage.
The door behind him will open.
Thanks. All right, Cornelius. Let's go get our last meal. Burgers?
Oh, I think I'll have. Oh, what are those things called? They look like that. I can't remember at the moment. I guess burgers. Burgers sound good.
Well, we can get anything. I mean, what are we saving money for at this point?
I did always wanted to try caviar.
Did. All right. Let's go buy some caviar.
All right.
How to?
Hmm?
The homeless.
As the two leave the outside garden, Thoth will dab his mouth very gently with a napkin, and he will stand up and he will say, "It is unfortunate, but ignorance is no defense."
Indeed. He evidently has a working relationship with his mother, as he repeatedly mentioned, is there any chance we can expect her people to disrupt the proceedings?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I will make sure that a delegation is sent in order to inform them of such. I doubt that they will kick up too much of a fuss.
Mm.
He will look to Magister Crowshon. He will say, "We will hold the tribunal here. You will prepare a suitable space."
As you wish.
How long will you require to prepare the papers, Mr. Gallo?
I mean, there are a lot of charges, and I would really need the details. To say, would 2 weeks?
Wonderful. He will look down and he will actually hang on. Sam, when do you leave for Europe out of character?
June 8th.
Oh.
And how long are you gone for?
2.5 weeks. I'm back at the end of June.
In that case, shall we just set it for when you get back as opposed to when you leave?
Also, I may be very busy when I get back. I might have. Anyways. Can I come back in to say something?
If you really want to, yes.
Wait,
as you walk back in, you kind of see them. You kind of see them all kind of standing up and like shaking hands and kind of getting papers and whatever else have you. Like they're making to leave.
I thought we were getting caviar.
We are in a minute. So I'm still a member of the Order of Hermes right now, right?
Yes.
So I can bring charges against someone too.
Yes. You should certainly bring forth information. Yes.
No. I want to bring. You said there was a way I can bring charges.
If there is sufficient evidence to support a charge, then yes.
Okay, hold on. I just need to find. Nice.
Perhaps you would like to reflect on the matter and what's been discussed, and then
He'll hold up a hand to kind of silence Gallo for a moment as he kind of waits to hear what Rory has to say.
Oh. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the exact thing. I wrote it down somewhere. And we could use magic to look back.
As long as we are not scrying upon the personal works of the Order.
Upon the personal what of the Order?
The personal, basically, as long as we are not scrying upon the personal works or thoughts of a member of the Order.
What cost?
What are the charges you wish to level, Adept? And upon whom?
Conspiracy, murder, betrayal of the most fundamental oaths, premeditated.
Could you clarify murder of what or whom?
Every single member of House Dene and representative.
Okay, and exactly.
The dog face palms.
His hand would immediately snap up, as in shut the fuck up right now. And he will look at Rory and he will say, "Continue, Adept."
Primi of House Tremere.
Are you going to list the other two houses as well?
Nope.
The dog looks like as though it sits in suspense and actually has a bit of its mouth open.
Just to clarify, are you accusing the... No, never mind. Sorry, I'm lost for words at this. Such matters are history, centuries old. Those who took part are no longer with us.
That's not entirely true, as I understand it.
He will turn to Magister Crowshon, he will point a finger and he will say, "Is this how you teach?" here in this chantry.
Okay, Rory.
Yeah.
You're about to see something that is never done. Because basically, Koshaw's hand will flick. And Evan, if I may take narrative control for a moment.
Well, you'll have to roll Arete to be politically correct if you want to actually do something. Like, let's be fair about how the mechanics work. But yeah,
Right.
you can. I give you mechanical control.
Nice, yeah. Just give
Remember that you get to roll on the ST rolls because I keep forgetting to do that.
Yes, just give me a second.
Sorry, Evan did not see this one coming.
Yeah, I certainly fucking well didn't.
What happened?
Okay, that should be sufficient.
Right, and we'll be adding contempt of court to the charges then.
No, sorry. Anthony's Magister was doing magic, so
Yeah.
by all means, Anthony, go ahead.
What you will see is the Primus's hands go to his throat as he's being choked. His own throat has just swollen up to the point he can't breathe. And
Are you attacking the head of House Quasitor?
Yes.
Okay.
Croshaw will take 2 sharp steps until he's in the man's face and say simply, "Your words have as good as accused me of siding with his words. I advise you to retract them, Primus. Do not force me to take action." Wave his hand. He can breathe again.
The the Primus won't actually. His face is completely impassive again, and he will say, "I will respect your verve in this matter. I would not advise doing that again, but I will respect your verve. Adept, you have offered insult. You have offered barb. You have offered nothing but speculation and self-serving interests in the face of your own abysmal situation. As such, I must, unfortunately, now I have a personal stake in this, recuse myself and allow my honored colleague who requested to sit as the Primus in this case take it over. You will now be dealing with my honored colleague, the head of House Titanus."
Okay, even Crowshaw's spinning around on that one.
With that, the Magister will turn and disappear.
Wait, hold on. Can I?
Adept.
What the hell just happened?
If you intend to leave this chantry, I advise you do so now and do not leave the city. As of this moment, you may consider yourself, in modern terms, out on bail.
Wait. No, so can I bring charges? I thought we were having a private conversation here.
Okay.
I don't understand what's going on.
Rory, perhaps we might walk. I would be happy to discuss ancient history with you if it would appease you, and we could leave the good master to see to the chantry.
But is High Palace, weren't their house also involved?
The entire order was involved one way or another.
Yeah, some were more involved than others, I know, was my understanding.
Okay. Now I need to make another roll. Fuck! I'm so glad this is inside the chantry. Okay, it's Nathan, I believe, who's playing Mr. Gallo.
Yeah.
Nathan, does Gallo have any sort of mind shield?
Yeah, I mean, he has mine 3, so he probably has one up routinely.
Realistically, no. How we work it is unless it's blue booked for a certain period of duration and such, it's not there.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, you will basically get a mental ping.
Yeah.
You will know is coming from Croshaw, as he telepathically tells you very simply, shut the boy up before he hangs himself. And then Croshaw will walk away because he doesn't want to hear any more of this.
Okay.
Otherwise, he might lose his temper.
Okay, well, I'll pause while the Magister departs.
Sorry, Magister. Sorry, Archmage.
It would be inappropriate for me as prosecutor to discuss your current case, but I'm happy to discuss ancient history if it would be of interest to you, such as I know it. Please take a seat. There's no dishonor ceremony for me.
Cool. He takes a seat.
Now, the events you're referring to were, well, all going on for 1,000 years ago. Yes, the order was torn by a civil war. Yes, many houses were involved. And yes, we all know how it ended. What's your point?
My point's how it began. Haven't you ever been curious?
Well, for starters, my study is law, not history, and while the two do intersect many times, especially in case law, it's a little of an old case to reopen. No one is still active from that time. Even Porthos is not that old.
That's not true.
Go on.
There are people still active from that time.
Such as?
Well, I don't know. Like, can I call them as witnesses? Like, I mean, just you'll understand if I'm skeptical of hermetic justice here.
As I understand the case, the tribunals were held and they were lawfully renounced on a number of crimes. Those included holding their meetings not in Latin, which was considered a crime at the time, infernalism, various objections to the Inquisitors, plus there were also wizard wars issued, which were lawful.
You know they butchered children, right?
I'm aware the Dini were accused of human sacrifice, yes.
No. Meaning, you know the Order of Hermes butchered children.
I would be quite confident to say that every war in the 11th century butchered children.
Yeah.
Or possibly every war in human history, to be frank. Wars are messy things.
No, they systematically killed the children.
Children of...
Danae.
You mean their
And the
apprentices?
consorts of Danae.
Well,
It was genocide.
killing the consuls would be legal in a wizard's war. Killing the apprentices would be legal.
And the townsfolk.
And you're alleging those that did this are still alive and here are members of the order. There is precedent.
Okay, Evan, out of character, I feel like I've just made this a lot worse for everyone.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty bad already before, but...
I'm currently desperate to feel the name of the head of House Titalis. Give me a few minutes.
By the way,
Yeah.
it's been Thoth, right?
Yes, he's an archmage. He's the...
I know who Espen Thoth is.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
So this is a bigger case than I thought.
Also, Titalis should be recusing themselves as well because they were actually one of the perpetrators.
I'm aware houses that House of Flambeau were also heavily involved in the war. I believe some houses, or so we say, some members of certain houses may have been involved and did decide discreetly.
Yes. Proudly.
I choose to, for the sake of Adam. Yes, that was Ibn Thoth. He just literally caused the archmage of the house to lose his cool and have to recuse himself.
Holy shit, man.
Rory is legendarily irritating.
Oh.
Where were we? Okay. So,
How's Tremere?
well, they're no longer with us, are they?
They're still around.
They were most definitely renounced.
Yeah, there's others still around in different realms. I understood.
Well, I'm sure if they turn up, that
No, I mean others from other houses are still around in other realms. There's other witnesses still alive. You can call spirits. There are ghosts.
And what? I'm still not clear what you're alleging was wrong. The law was the war was legal at the time. It was possibly bad law, but it
I'm
was
alleging
law.
that it's trumped up.
You're alleging the deity did conduct their meetings in Latin.
I don't know that or.
That was one of the charges against them. They conducted their meetings in their native language and not in Hermetic Latin. That was deemed a crime.
Worthy of death for the entire house and their children.
It was one of the crimes that was brought. They were also accused of a feudalism. Now, they were a very large house. I gather they were the largest house, the foundation of the order. With that many members, it would be surprising if there was not a single feudalist among them. There were many feudalists of that in that age that were found in other houses.
An individual should be tried for their own crimes, not collective guilt.
There are cases in Hermetic law which do recognise collective guilt. Sometimes in Charles Chantry can be marched, for example.
You guys are talking awfully loud in the hall. Oh shit! You see this gentleman approach you guys.
Okay.
And he says, as you guys were talking, he says, "You sure guys are talking loud in this hallway? What'd you talk about?"
Ancient history.
Oh, I love me some history.
We're talking about how the Order of Hermes trumped up some charges. Well, I'm saying they trumped up charges against Houston Hay and then butchered them all. Genocide, cultural extermination.
I believe part of the motive was that the Dini were practicing human sacrifice. The horror stories of Wicker Men. And that whilst that was not technically a crime, was certainly extremely distasteful to the other houses, particularly the aforementioned Tremere.
Yeah.
Well, we even talking about House Tremere now. We're bringing up some
we're
old
talking
wounds.
about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of old wounds.
Yes.
Well,
I'm not sure if these old wounds is going to particularly help your case. If you wish to continue to focus on, I'm happy to.
There's a case too?
Oh, they're bringing like 23 charges of something or other against me. I'm probably going to be found guilty.
Whoa, what'd you do?
I'm happy to depart if you wish to discuss your defense.
Oh, no, why? I've got nothing to hide. I think it was 15 counts of reckless endangerment as it pertains to Sleeper or something. 6 charges of waken reckless endangerment something, and 2 charges of betrayal of the Hermetic Oath.
That's interesting. Seems like you get charged with a lot of that around here.
Yeah.
From the front door, you'll hear, "Oh, thank you, laddie. Do take the hat. Thank you, thank you."
Evan, just so you know, I've sent you a Facebook message. Just so you know.
That's fine. I saw it. I've seen it. He will. This gentleman will arrive. He's rather well dressed. He has the top hat as pictured, which he gives to the rather aforementioned Perkins as he takes off his gloves and his coat, and he will say, "Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely Dublin weather. The rain has fallen straight down."
Yeah, it seems about much for this place.
Like it.
Sorry, Adam. Can you message me who you're playing?
Here.
Just a quick little Facebook message. The figure will walk forward and he'll extend his hand. Oh, lovely to see you, lads.
Nice to meet you. I'm Rory.
He'll shake his hand and say, I've heard a lot about you, lad.
I'm sure all of it bad, and it may or may not be true, depending on the perspective.
And you, sir, he'll say, extending his hand to Gallo.
Gallo will rise from his chair and put the tea down and happily shake the hand. Mr. Gallo, of the House Flambeau.
Pleasure to meet you, boy. Pleasure to meet you, lad. And you, sir, he'll say, extending his hand to Adam.
Ah, good to meet you. Edward Graves.
A fine name is Graves. Good Scottish name. I'll never say no again.
Well, I'm not exactly from Scotland, but if that's what you get folks named around here, I guess we're all family.
Where are my manners? They're absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. My name is Edward Gilmore. Lovely to meet you.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you. I hope you don't know, not offended of talking of old house rivalries, do you? Because that seems to be the conversation of today.
Well,
Edward Gilmore?
Edward Gilmore. I
know you.
Oh, do you now, laddie?
I've heard your name, at least. I heard some cool stories.
Oh, I assure you it's all truth. Except for the
Lord Edward Gilmore, Bani Titleist.
Correct. Sharp lad.
You were the one who saw you. You were like the last out from the Mercury College.
Aye, for what it's worth.
Someone competent. It was awesome. I grew up on stories about you.
Once again, as I say, they're all truth except for the ones that are lies.
See, I feel that's how I feel about things too.
So he'll kind of rub his hands together. Now, of course, you have a rough idea why I'm here, laddie boy.
Yeah, you're gonna sit on the tribunal. Whatever. I mean, like.
I don't know what you did
I
don't know what you did to piss off my friend Hummus as much as you did. I call him Hummus. It's a thing. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But Jesus, you put his pants in a tizzy or his knickers in a twist or whatever the fuck you want to phrase it.
Wait, who was just here?
Ibn Thoth, the Archmage.
Damn! Seems like all the Archmages are coming to Dublin.
Strictly speaking, Primus would be his actual title.
Pardon?
Is he not the Primus?
He is, but
Yes.
we only like to be called that when we're being official.
Well, he is kind of here in his official capacity as Primus Quisitor.
If you want to be official, technically it's Magister Mundi, but you know, he's still a
Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry to have pissed him off. I just why am I gonna shut my mouth? I mean, like.
Well, the funny thing about being the first one to shout the clarion call is often you're the first one to get shot when you do.
Yeah. And I accept that I'm likely going to die young.
Look, boy, he'll say as he'll wrap his arm around Rory. Oh, you're missing an arm. That's a thing. Well, as I said, Laddie Buck, look at it like this. I'm here to make sure everything's nice and fair and above board. I'm not gonna, you know me, I've got a reputation. I'm not going to fuck with you if you don't fuck with me. We'll try and we'll get this all sorted out.
Sounds good to me.
If anyone wants to roll perception empathy, for the love of God, they can.
Oh, that should be fun. I won't have him roll. I won't have him roll. He just wants to watch the conversation. What's going on?
I'll roll it. Or maybe I'll ask one to roll for me because I always have that issue.
What difficulty?
Standard.
I'm sure he's a master of manipulation.
It's almost like he's part of the House of Strategy or something. Wait, no.
Can someone roll for it?
I can roll for you. I don't know why, but the picture I chose just seems to suit him.
Yeah,
I like
4 dice, 1 willpower.
All right, give me a second. You do have empathy as a skill, don't you?
Yeah, I have 2 dots in it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, hey, you know what? Honestly, I respect you, and if I'm going to be sentenced by a court, I'd rather it be you and Dr. Twidmarch.
I'll just roll on an independent dice roller because that one's not
And
working.
I suppose the other magister is fine too. Like,
See, that's the way to view it, laddie. I'll just roll for both of you on a separate dice roller because it's just going to be easier than going over rolls.
Mhm.
but I'm not going to be a pussy. And I'm not going
Holy
to.
shit! Okay. Holy shit. Nathan, you got successes. Rory, you got 2. On a side note, then it decides to roll. No. Anyway, it's cool. The rolls I have will be the ones that will stand. Rory, from your perspective, this guy seems like an entirely loquacious, genuine, nice guy. From the point of view of Gallo, holy shit, he's sizing him up. He's basically looking for every weakness he can. It's not even funny. He got 3 successes to hide his intentions.
Yeah, well, I'm used to dealing with judges.
You know, I've said I've got nothing to hide.
Good!
Well,
I'm not really good at that stuff anyways. Everyone's smarter than me and more subtle. Truthfully, I feel like that's half the thing I'm on trial for, but fuck it.
well, I would, much as I can, advise the trial to stay on topic to the matters at hand. That would include crimes of others related to things who are accusing you. That would not include digging up ancient history. It would not be deemed relevant to that particular tribunal.
Why?
The reason of the tribunal is to explore the charges against you and make a determination. If there is a separate matter, that can be raised at a separate tribunal.
I think we all know how these things go.
There are plenty. I'm not sure what you mean. There are plenty of cases of Maga who have been found innocent. There are plenty of cases of Maga who have been given token punishments for various good reasons.
Yeah. I'm sure none of them have to do with politics. And what do they call it? The morass, the quicksand? I can't remember.
In my ass.
That's the one.
Human beings are political creatures. That much is evident.
Other animals are.
We can aspire to higher ideals of justice and fairness and law.
Yeah, I do that. Other people would rather, man, it's whatever.
Graves is he actually has a black e-pen, and he seems to be smoking out of it, and a little bit of like this semi-turquoise smoke comes out. So, it was nice meeting all of you. I just wanted to say hello. You there, I didn't catch your name. And he points to Gallo.
Oh. Rupert Gallo of House Flambeau.
Rupert Gallo. You don't happen to have any contact information. You seem to know your sorts around Hermetic law.
Hand you my business card.
That'd be highly appreciated.
I've been asked to prosecute this case. So, to be honest with you, I prefer defense work.
Seems like this is going to be an important case. Especially
I
with
have no
Drake.
doubt you'll do your due diligence to the order, and you'll do it rather fine, my boy.
Wow, indeed, it's always an honour to be asked by none less than the Primus of House Quesitor. A lofty title of Quesitor, which perhaps I might aspire to myself one day.
I mean, let's face it like this, you know, when you realistically get down to it, Hummus isn't a bad guy.
Huh?
I call him Hummus.
Oh.
Hummus? Why hummus?
Like the
There's a
food?
story. He looks at him and his face goes deadly serious, and he says, "There's a story that involves him, me, a bottle of tequila, Cairo, and belly dancers. I'll tell you one day."
I thought they can't feel fun.
Needless to say, I gave it my best whack.
Ah,
Interesting.
I thought they were like emotionally castrated or something.
Once again, I gave it my best shot.
Okay.
So, lovely. Well, I tell you what. Oh, he looked down at his watch and say, "It's getting up to 2:30. Okay, I should probably find some semblance of food. Mr. Gallo, you're due back in court in half an hour."
Yes. Well, I really should be off. I say, I have work to be getting back to.
We're gonna get some food if you want to come with us.
Oh
No, I better go and shake the hands of the Magister Croshaw. I'm led to understand he's a decent fella, if a bit. Woo.
He tried to choke Magister Mundi Didenthoth.
He tried to choke Hummus. Interesting. Well, on the bright side, I just don't have that kind of face. People tend not to want to punch it. He does, Hummus does, but you know, these things happen. It was lovely to meet you all, if you'll excuse me.
Rory offers a hand.
He'll shake your hand.
He shakes it. It's a pleasure to meet you in person.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be met.
Yeah.
He will stroll out towards the kitchens.
If you can, Evan, for Evan, can you whisper me his residence, the Titaloy?
well, I'd love to be going in a few minutes. Was there anything else to discuss right now, Rory?
I mean, I don't. Thank you for trying to be decent. I don't really think that there's much to discuss. I'm just gonna go and, cross off some stuff off the bucket list.
It wouldn't do any harm to put your affairs in order. You may wish to, in whatever manner that means to you. It sounds like you have next of kin to discuss with, and you might want to find a good priest just in case.
Yeah, no, not after this. They can kiss the reddest part of my ass.
That's one controlled dude. Well, it seems like you have it in for you on this one.
Whatever. It's all good.
But hey, if you ever need someone to talk to about it, I'm around.
So what was your name again?
Oh, Adeptus Maximus Edward Graves.
What house?
Oh, well, I was a Verditus, but me and some of them had a little bit of disagreement.
So
I'm on my own.
So ex miscellanea?
It's very rare, but I haven't even talked to them yet. Technically, I'm in limbo at the moment.
I believe the formal legal term is Orbi. It's not used very often.
Oh yeah, that old term.
I
remember reading in the books. But I got to talk to the Magister. Just wanted to see what's going on here. I'll definitely look in on this tribunal. I think it's going to be quite defining thing if it's that with this many preemie and how many charges you got on your back.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, man.
You'll know if there wasn't any. It's whatever.
Well, and he pats you on the back and just says, "I wish you all the luck in the world."
Yeah.
Heads up the stairs.
All right.
Fades in the background.
And as the group depart into their various different ways and means, I will call the end to this scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been one of the most politically charged scenes for Dark Kingdom we've ever done. Holy crap on a stick. Okay. Thank you very much, and good evening.